What is taking place with the Detroit Lions is a complete S show. In this video, we're going to be talking about the hot seat, Dan Campbell. A lot of fans, commentators are really putting that fire on his seat. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into the Lions schedule. What will the record be by the end of the year? It's kind of scary. Will the Lions be a top 5 draft pick? Who is to blame? Players and coaches. But before we get into today's video, if you think it's a smart and sound idea to travel back in time to Salem during the Salem witch trials and claim that you are a witch, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because we talk all things Detroit Lions news and rumors. And sometimes being a Lions fan, you can be set on fire. Also, take that like button with you and let that bad boy get roasted. Let's get into today's Lions rumors. This loss, blame goes to everybody. We're talking about players, coaches, scheme, everything goes to blame for a loss such as 29-0. Nobody should be left to not be scrutinized, and that includes players here. Now, Dan Campbell's taking a lot of heat, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but players got to take the heat as well, and that includes Jared Goff throwing an interception, fumble for 6. It includes the wide receivers making drops. It includes the defense out of plays. This team was a disaster, and it's not looking pretty. It's just getting worse and worse and worse as the season goes along. And from here, I don't know what needs to happen. A lot of changes need to occur. Thankfully, it's the bye week. You can't lose in the bye week. That is a victory for the Detroit Lions. We're going to get into what can be done to change it. What blame does everybody have? Can the Lions win more games? A lot to go around. How many wins will the Detroit Lions have this season? Let me know in the comment section right now. Do you think they finish with 1 win? That's all what we got right now. Do you think they finish with more wins? 4, 5, 6, 7? Let me know in the comment section how many wins should the Lions have by the end of the year, or will have by the end of the year. Dan Campbell's seat is on fire right now. The fan base is going crazy. YouTubers are ripping him a new one. If you look at Woodward Sports, if you look at 97 Won the Ticket, his seat is on fire right now. Will he get fired, do I believe? No, not right now. Absolutely not. I don't think he's going to get fired. That's just not the Detroit Lions way. We gave Matt Patricia time. They're probably going to give Dan Campbell time. He deserved to have the fire on his seat, though. He deserves the blame. And right now, I'm questioning his decisions. I love Dan Campbell. We hired him. The way that he speaks, the way that he talks, but his decisions to consistently go for it on 4th down is hurting this team, and we are losing because of this. He is making absolutely terrible play calling. And at this point, it's emotional for him, and it's not being reasonable. 4th and 9, what in the hell was that? You look at other coaches right now. You look at other teams. The New York Giants, they're winning. The Jets hired Saleh last year. Same thing. They're winning. The Jaguars are winning. They're playing better. We are not. We are regressing. And Dan Campbell deserves blame here. His seat deserves to be on fire. And I can't argue with the subscribers on this one. I cannot argue with commentators saying, you know, he's not the guy for the job. I can't argue with it. I really can't. You know, and because he deserves all of this. You can't go for it on 4th down 6 times and miss 6 times. You can't go for it on 4th and 9. At what point do you use your kicker or punter? They are a part of the team as well. He has directly lost now 2 games just off the decisions. And I'm tired of him coming to the press conference and saying, look, it's on me. You got to be able to make the changes here, Dan Campbell. You have to make the changes. And you can point fingers at Aaron Glenn. You can point fingers at Ben Johnson. You can point fingers at the players. But ultimately, it does come down to the head coach when it comes to these decisions. And they're bad decisions. He deserves the blame for this. And man, I feel bad because I thought potentially this guy could change the culture in Detroit. But it's looking like it's not. It's like almost feels like Rod Marinelli in a sense right now. Or if you go back to the 49ers coach before Jim Harbaugh. It really does. A guy who can speak, but when it comes to game, he just don't have it. He doesn't learn. Do you blame Dan Campbell for this loss? Y for yes, N for no. That's going to be the pinned comment for this video. I'm curious to see what you think on this one. Do you blame Dan Campbell for this loss? Because I do. Big part of it. Now we're talking about Aaron Glenn last week. Defense has been bad. Defense was bad again. Defense has been awful. You know, if there's changes to be made, if you're Dan Campbell, you would assume maybe demoting Aaron Glenn from removing his play calling. They did that last year with Anthony Lynn. Some people are predicting he gets fired. I don't believe he gets fired. I think Dan Campbell is very loyal, and he's not going to do that. I don't know what really can be done on the defense. Is firing Aaron Glenn going to help it? I don't know. Because, first off, the players are bad. There's a lot of injuries. And ultimately, Dan Campbell's in charge. Could Calvin do a better job? It's questions to be had. Do you think that the defense is going to stop the rest of the schedule? And we're going to go over the schedule here in a minute, so you want to stay in this video, folks. Stay for this video because we're going to go over the schedule here in a minute. So stay through it. We're going to talk about it. I don't know. I don't think it's really going to change anything. Because I think from a talent-wise, it's not good. I think from injury-wise, it's not good. In the end, Brad Holmes deserves criticism, folks. You're getting guys that are injured who's not helping this team out. You sign free agents, that's not helping this team. Now, the injuries, when it comes, some of these injuries you can't prevent, but when you're drafting guys with injuries, it's not helping. It's not helping your coaches. And also, if you're Brad Holmes, I want to get on to Aaron Glenn. Herman Moore made a great statement about Aaron Glenn really quick. Let me go back to it. He said, if you're Aaron Glenn, you got to be fuming over Dan Campbell because you consistently go for it, and obviously you don't trust him as a coordinator or his defense. He said Aaron Glenn should be fuming, and him as a player losing trust and faith in Dan Campbell. And losing faith in Brad Holmes. This is by a guy who's played it at a high level. Herman Moore thinks this may not be right. This may not be the right regime. How am I going to argue with a legendary wide receiver? I can't argue with it because he makes some good points. Let's go over the schedule quick. And we're going to talk about the Lions are in a world of hurt here, folks. We're sitting right now at the third pick in the draft, and I think pick 14 with the Rams, in which has nothing to do with the Lions, but that's great. Keep losing Rams. But we have one win. We face the Dallas Cowboys. Pretty much everybody can think that's a loss. Versus Miami, that's probably a loss. Greenbay Packers, that's a loss. At Chicago Bears, Chicago's actually fighting hard, almost beat Minnesota. That's a questionable one. At New York Giants, they're 4 wins. That's a loss. Buffalo Bills, major loss. Versus Jacksonville Jaguars playing better. Probably a loss. At New York Jets, probably a loss. Carolina Panthers, could this determine who the first pick in the draft is? At Carolina, though. It's on the road. It's not home. Chicago Bears, that potentially could be a win because it's at Detroit. At Green Bay, a loss. So from what I'm looking at right now, the Detroit 2 to 4 wins. 4 wins being the ceiling. Hell, 1 win's actually the floor. I have lost Cowboys, lost Dolphins, lost Packers, questionable Bears, Giants lost, Bills lost, Jags lost, Jets lost, Panthers questionable, Bears win, Packers loss. That's what I have. And if that stays the case, the Detroit Lions will be the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. We go from the second pick to the first pick. We regress. We go from 3 wins to 1 tie to 1 or 2 wins. That's what we got here. And you want to know it? I'm going to say this right now. I know if you're the first pick in the draft, it's not that just your defense sucks, folks. It's your offense at that point must suck. Your coaching sucks. Your defense sucks. Everything sucks to be the first pick in the draft. And you want to know what? I don't care how controversial it is. Last time we had a chance to take a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, we passed on it. If we're sitting at 1, you have to consider taking a quarterback at 1. I like what Jared Goff done in the first 4 weeks. But clearly, this team is in a world of hurt. And I don't know what if you're the first pick in the draft, how could you keep Dan Campbell as head coach? You couldn't. At that point, it'd be justified to fire if you're the first pick in the draft. You go from the second pick to the first pick. It's justable. It's justifiable. It is. Oh, Mike, you're overreacting. I already know I'm going to get Mike. You're overreacting. The Lions are okay. We can still make the playoffs. This is year 2 of a rebuild. This is absolute regression so far. And I'm not happy. And no one should be happy with this. Absolutely not. Draft talk, week 4, week 5 already, and it's legitimate. Because our season it's when I say the season's done, I mean from, obviously we're not making playoffs. That's clear as day. No, we're not making the playoffs. We have a chance to play the young guys. So the season's not done from there. They're still evaluating talent. But win-loss record, like the season's done there. But you can still evaluate talent and evaluate the coaches and all that. This sucks, man. Season lost. But we're going to keep going, dropping videos on this channel every single day. We'll get into the draft and free agency. That's what it's about at this point, folks. I'm sorry you don't want to hear it, but you know, I gotta say the truth. I'm not going to sit there and just lie to you and just blow smoke. With that said, folks, adios.